Marked by the Alpha CEO Part 2. Chapter 11, The Mark. They buried the bodies at dusk. Not in the traditional sense. The pack burned the remains in a secluded clearing deep in the woods, using an old ritual to cleanse the estate of the hunter's presence. The air was thick with smoke and ash, but beneath it lingered something more primitive, fear. Not just because they'd been attacked, but because someone had known about her. Back at the estate, Emma sat in a warm bath, her skin sore, her mind whirling. Her body ached, not from injury, but from change. There was a tingling beneath her skin that never seemed to stop, like something was alive under the surface, pacing, stretching, waiting for release. She couldn't stop thinking about how easily she'd moved during the attack. How her instincts had taken over. How good it had felt to fight. And bite. She hadn't just defended herself, she'd enjoyed the strength, the power, the kill. Was that her wolf? Was that her? After the water cooled, she stood and wrapped a towel around herself, catching a glimpse of the mirror, and froze. The bite on her shoulder was no longer just healing. It had changed. Where there had once been twin puncture marks, now there was a symbol etched into her skin, raised slightly like a scar, but glowing faintly with a silvery light. The shape was a crescent moon flanked by two fangs, with intricate lines radiating outward like veins or roots. It pulsed faintly with each beat of her heart. Emma reached up, brushing her fingers over it. Her breath caught. The air seemed to shift around her. The wolf inside stirred, not violently, but like it was bowing to something larger. The door creaked. Damian entered without knocking, but he stopped abruptly when he saw her standing there, half wrapped in steam and towel, staring into the mirror. He looked at the mark. His eyes widened, then softened. It's begun. Emma turned to face him. What is this? He stepped forward slowly, reverently. The mark of the Alpha's mate. The bond is taking root. It's more than a connection, it's a claim. A magical one. It binds you to me, to the pack. It protects you. She bristled. Protects me? Or brands me? Both, he admitted. But it's also a shield. No hunter can harm you now without facing the wrath of the Alpha. That mark is a promise, from me, and from the magic that governs our kind. Emma turned back to the mirror, touching the symbol again. It's beautiful, she said before she could stop herself. And terrifying. Damian's voice was soft. Much like you. Their eyes met in the reflection. He stepped closer. You fought today like you were born to it. You shifted, partially. Do you feel it now? The wolf inside? She nodded slowly. She's always watching. Waiting. She likes the wild. She likes you. That last part came out quieter than she meant. Damian didn't smile, but his eyes darkened with something deeper. She's right to. Emma turned to face him, heart hammering. This mark, it means I'm changing. That I'm no longer human. You were never just human, he said. The bond wouldn't have chosen you otherwise. The mark means your transformation has reached the second phase. The next time you shift, it won't be partial. She swallowed hard. And after that? After that, he said, stepping closer until his breath warmed her face, you'll be a wolf in full. My equal. My mate. Luna of this pack. Emma looked down at the mark. It no longer felt foreign. It felt like hers. But it also felt like destiny tightening a leash around her neck. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, Damian said. But the bond will keep pulling until it's complete. Deny it too long, and it will break you. Emma nodded, even as a strange calm settled in her bones. A part of her had already made a choice. And that part was growing stronger by the hour. Chapter 12, Pack Politics. If the bite had changed her body and the mark had altered her soul, then entering the pack was what began to test Emma's will. It started with the invitations. Not requests. Not suggestions. Summons. Emma received the first one the morning after she discovered the mark. It was handwritten on thick parchment, sealed with the Wolfe family crest, an actual wax seal, pressed with the shape of a wolf's head howling at a crescent moon. To Emma Taylor, fated mate of Alpha Damian Wolfe. You are formally summoned to attend your first pack council gathering tonight. Your presence is expected. Elias, beta of the pack. She stared at it for a long moment, unsure whether to be insulted or terrified. Probably both. That evening, she dressed more deliberately. Not too formal, not too casual. Black jeans, boots, a fitted gray sweater that hugged her curves but didn't scream "look at me." Her instincts were sharpening, guiding her toward choices she wouldn't have made before. Damian met her outside the council chamber, dressed in black from head to toe. Regal, imposing, alpha in every way. When his eyes met hers, the bond buzzed like electricity in her blood. You don't have to speak tonight, he said softly. Just observe. Emma shook her head. No. If they're going to whisper about me, I'd rather they do it to my face. Damian gave a small, wolfish grin. That's my Luna. She flushed. The pack council chamber was located in the heart of the estate, a sunken stone room built in a circle, with 12 carved chairs forming a ring. A fire burned low in the center, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The energy in the room was sharp, primal. Every person in it carried a presence that made Emma's skin prickle. Damian led her to his side. No words. Just a single gesture, his hand resting lightly on her lower back as he guided her forward. The murmurs began immediately. She's human. She's not even shifted fully. She's a danger to the bloodline. She won't survive the Luna challenge. Emma met every gaze she could. Refused to look down. Let them talk. Elias, seated 2 chairs from Damian, nodded to her respectfully, though his eyes, too, held questions. There were others, older wolves with silver-threaded hair and tribal tattoos. Younger wolves with cold, suspicious eyes. One in particular stood out, a woman with fierce bone structure, honey-colored skin, and a sharp smirk. Her name, Emma would later learn, was Sabine. Sabine spoke first. So this is the one we've heard about. Her voice was like silk wrapped around a knife. Pretty. Fragile. Not pack-born. Emma bristled, but Damian beat her to it. She's my mate. Chosen by the bond. That makes her Luna, by right. Sabine stood. By your right. But not by ours. You know the law, Damian. If she wants to take the title, she'll have to earn it. Whispers rippled around the circle. Emma narrowed her eyes. What exactly does that mean? Sabine smiled. The Luna challenge. It's tradition. Every potential Luna must face trials. Prove herself worthy of the pack. Strength. Wisdom. Control. Legacy. She's not ready, Elias said tightly. She hasn't even. I'll do it, Emma said. The room went still. Damian turned toward her, eyes wide. Emma. She lifted her chin. If I'm going to stay, I want to be more than the woman you bit. I want to stand on my own. Sabine's eyes glittered. Then it's decided. The trials begin at the next full moon. That's in 4 nights, Elias warned. Then I have 4 days to prepare, Emma said. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands didn't tremble. But inside, her wolf stirred, not in fear, but in fury. Later, in Damian's study, he paced like a caged animal. "You shouldn't have agreed," he growled. "You don't know what they'll demand of you." Emma stood by the fire, staring into the flames. "Then teach me." He turned, eyes glowing faintly. "You're not like them. You weren't raised in this. They'll expect you to fail. Let them." Damian stepped closer, voice low. "You don't understand. This isn't about proving you're strong, it's about surviving." The last woman who attempted the trials without a full shift died halfway through. Emma looked up at him, gaze fierce. "Then help me shift. Teach me to control it. Help me become what they think I can't." A long silence stretched between them. Then Damian nodded slowly. "Tomorrow, we begin." And deep in the woods, where the moonlight didn't reach, the pack whispered of the Luna to come, half human, half wolf, burning with something even older than blood. Chapter 13, Wolf's Past. The forest was alive with whispers that night. Emma followed Damian through the tall grass and into the deeper woods, farther than she'd ever gone. The moon overhead wasn't full yet, but it hung heavy in the sky, casting silver over everything. Damian moved like a shadow among the trees, silent and fluid. He said nothing until they reached a clearing. A wide, sacred space. The earth here felt older. The trees bent slightly inward, as if honoring what lay in the center, a single, smooth stone marked with symbols Emma couldn't read. Moss crept up its sides. The air held a reverent hush. Damian stopped just in front of the stone. "She's buried here," he said. Emma didn't ask who. She already knew. He crouched beside the stone, trailing his fingers over the worn markings. Her name was Leora. Emma stayed a respectful distance back, heart tight in her chest. "She was strong," Damian said softly. "Born into the pack. An alpha's daughter. Chosen by the bond when we were still young, barely out of our first shifts. We were fated. There was never a question. Never a choice." Emma stepped closer. "Did you love her?" He looked up at her, eyes unreadable. "I thought I did. The bond was instant. Our wolves knew each other in a way our human sides never caught up to. But love is what's left when the fire dies down. I'm not sure we ever got that far." He stood slowly, brushing dirt from his hands. Leora believed in strength. She believed an alpha should rule through fear, not respect. She had ambition. She wanted more than this pack. She wanted war. Expansion. Emma frowned. "And you?" "I wanted peace," Damian said. "Control. Discipline." She saw it as weakness. He began to pace slowly, circling the stone. The more power she gained, the more erratic she became. "She challenged me once. Publicly. Said I was too soft. Said I wouldn't be able to protect the pack from what was coming." Emma swallowed. "Did you fight her?" "No. The bond wouldn't allow it. But she found another way to break me." He stopped pacing. His hands curled into fists at his sides. "She betrayed me. Aligned with a rogue faction of shifters, wolves who wanted to abandon our laws, our traditions. They promised her freedom. Control. Blood." Emma's stomach turned. "And she left you?" "She tried," Damian said. "But you can't leave a mate. Not without consequence. Not when the bond is sealed." She went feral. Lost control of her wolf. And when she came back, she wasn't Leora anymore. Emma's breath caught. "What did you do?" "I ended it," he said simply. Because I had to. Because she left me no choice. And because if I hadn't, she would have killed half the pack. The air grew still. Emma stepped closer, carefully. And after that? I swore I'd never take another mate. Never trust the bond again. I couldn't risk it. Couldn't bear the thought of losing control like that again. He turned to face her, and for the first time, Emma saw pain in his eyes. Not the hardened anger of a leader, but the raw, splintered grief of a man who had been torn apart, and survived. And then I walked into your interview, he said. Emma blinked. You didn't even speak, he murmured. You just looked up at me, and the bond snapped into place. Like it had never broken before. Like you'd been mine in every lifetime before this. She didn't know what to say. Her throat tightened. But I feared it, he continued. I pushed it down. Tried to ignore it. But every time I looked at you, my wolf stirred. Not with lust. Not with rage. With recognition. Emma's voice was quiet. You think I'm different from her. I know you are. She took a breath, stepping even closer now, until they stood face to face, the stone between them like a gravestone for his past. But you're still afraid, she said. Yes, he whispered. Because if I lose you, I won't survive it this time. For a moment, all was silent. Then Emma reached out, took his hand in hers, and placed it over her mark. Over the crescent moon, the fangs, the shimmering symbol of their bond. I'm not Leora, she said. His voice caught. I know. And I'm not running anymore. Damian's shoulders sagged, as if a century of grief finally exhaled from his bones. He pulled her into an embrace, holding her tightly, like he wasn't sure if he was comforting her or himself. And deep in the woods, where shadows once carried sorrow, something shifted. The bond between them no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a fire finally lit in the right hands. Chapter 14, The Rival Alpha. The forest didn't sleep. Even days after the attack, the pack remained on high alert. Patrols doubled. The council kept late meetings. Guards rotated every 2 hours. And still, something was wrong. Emma felt it first. Not as fear, exactly. But as pressure, a subtle tension that lived just beneath her skin. A whisper of wrongness on the wind. Like the world was holding its breath again. It started in her dreams. Each night, she would run, barefoot, not fully shifted, her limbs burning with effort, as shadows chased her. A voice called her name from the trees, not Damian's, but familiar in some other way. Velvet and smoke. It made her blood chill and burn all at once. Then came the waking signs. Animals scattering before she approached. The pack's wolves growling at something they couldn't see. The scent of foreign magic in the air, sharp, cloying, wrong. And then, he came. Emma was training alone that morning. She'd begun early, rising before the others, pushing herself harder each day. The Luna trials were 3 days away, and Sabine had made it clear the challenges would not be ceremonial. They would be deadly. She practiced shifts in the clearing behind the estate, learning how to partially control the wolf, just enough to strengthen her body without fully surrendering. Damian had warned her it was risky, but she was determined. She was mid-shift when it happened, bones stretching, eyes glowing, claws peeking just beneath human skin, when the forest went quiet. Too quiet. The birds stopped. The wind died. And then, a voice behind her. You don't belong here. Emma spun, claws out, golden eyes flashing. A man stood at the edge of the clearing, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a tailored black coat despite the heat. His hair was dark gold, nearly white in the sun, and his eyes, crimson. Not natural. Not human. Alpha eyes. But not Damian's. Who the hell are you? Emma snapped, not lowering her guard. The man smiled. I'm someone who knows what you truly are. She circled him, tense. You're trespassing. This is pack territory. And yet here I am, he said, stepping forward calmly. And your alpha hasn't stopped me. Perhaps that should concern you. Her jaw clenched. Say your name. He dipped his head with mock courtesy. Victor Gray. Alpha of the Ashfangs. Emma's stomach dropped. She'd heard the name whispered in the estate, rarely and always with disdain. A rival alpha. A rogue faction. Exiled wolves who rejected traditional law. Who made alliances with other things, dark things. Emma didn't move. You're not supposed to be here. No, he agreed. But I came for you. Her heart thudded. Victor stepped closer, slowly, like a predator sizing up uncertain prey. You think the bond makes you safe. Protected. Loved. But it makes you vulnerable. You're tied to a man whose power is dying. And when he falls, you'll fall with him. She bared her teeth. Damian is stronger than you'll ever be. Perhaps, Victor said smoothly. But what has he offered you, little Luna? A title? A mark? Chains disguised as devotion? Emma didn't reply. Victor tilted his head. What if I told you there was another way? A path where you rule beside me, not behind me. No tests. No tradition. No pack council to impress. Just power. Shared. Equal. Freely taken. The temptation hit her like a gust of cold air. Not because she believed him, but because he knew what to offer. Freedom. Choice. Control. Everything she'd feared losing. And all I have to do is betray my mate, she asked. Victor grinned. Mate bonds can be rewritten. The magic isn't as permanent as they'd like you to believe. Power obeys strength, not sentiment. Choose me, and I'll show you what you could be. A breeze stirred the air. The mark on Emma's shoulder burned, as if reacting to the threat. She stood tall. Let me make this clear, Victor. I don't want your offer. I don't want your lies. And if you come near my pack again. She shifted slightly, just enough to let her eyes glow gold and claws extend. I'll rip your heart out myself. Victor laughed. Not cruelly. Almost, admiringly. Very well, he said. But when the trials break you, when your pack turns on you, remember who offered you sanctuary first. And just like that, he was gone. No sound. No scent. Just vanished into the trees. Damian found her minutes later, tense and shaking, staring at the trees where Victor had stood. He smelled it immediately, Victor's scent. He cursed. He was here. Emma nodded. He made me an offer. Damian's eyes burned. What did he say? She turned to him, voice steady. That he could give me power. Control. Freedom. Damian's jaw clenched. And did you want it? Emma hesitated only a moment. I want to earn mine. Not steal it. Damian's arms wrapped around her without another word, holding her tightly. But beneath his embrace, Emma could feel it. This was only the beginning. Victor had seen her. He'd spoken to her wolf. And next time, he might not be so polite. Chapter 15, The Training. The forest no longer felt like a backdrop. It felt like a stage. The day after Victor's visit, everything changed. Damian tightened security, the pack grew restless, and whispers of the Luna trials spread like wildfire. But for Emma, the only thing that mattered now was one truth. She couldn't afford to be weak. Not with Victor watching. Not with the pack judging. Not with the trials looming like wolves at the gate. Damian began her real training that morning, no more guided strolls or whispered advice. This time, he pushed her like an alpha preparing a warrior. Not a lover. Not a mate. A soldier. And Emma rose to it. The first day was brutal. Shift, he commanded, standing across from her in the clearing. I don't know how, she snapped, already sweating, heart racing. Yes, you do. Your wolf is there. I saw her during the attack. You felt her. You just keep locking the door. Emma clenched her fists. What if I can't control her? What if you can? Damian stepped closer, eyes dark, voice low. What if she's everything you need to survive, and you're the only thing in her way? His words struck something deep. So she tried. And failed. She screamed, body twisting, heat flaring under her skin, but no shift came. Only pain. That night she collapsed into bed aching and angry, her muscles torn from effort and her heart burning with doubt. But the mark on her shoulder pulsed with steady warmth, like her wolf was listening. Day 2 was worse. Damian took her to the waterfall gorge, steep cliffs, slick rocks, and raging current below. Jump, he said, pointing to the ledge. Emma blinked. Are you insane? It's a test. Of trust. Of instinct. When you stop thinking like a human, your wolf will come. She'll save you. Emma cursed under her breath, but she jumped. Mid-fall, her body reacted on its own. Bones cracked, tendons lengthened, muscles surged. She didn't shift fully, just enough for her reflexes to change, her hands to claw at the cliff face, slowing her descent until she hit the pool below with a bone-jarring splash instead of a fatal one. When she surfaced, gasping and furious, Damian stood on the ledge above, arms crossed. Good, he called. Again. By the third day, something shifted, in her. She stopped asking how to shift. She started listening. To the wind. To the trees. To the steady beat of her heart and the whispering rhythm of her breath. Her senses sharpened. Her movements became fluid. She could feel her wolf pacing beneath her skin, no longer clawing wildly, but coiling with purpose. That night, she caught her reflection in a stream. Her eyes gleamed amber, even without shifting. I'm coming, the wolf whispered. On the fourth day, Damian brought her to the old ruins, stone pillars from a forgotten age, where past Lunas once trained. Ancient runes lined the stones, glowing faintly as Emma stepped into the circle. No more fighting your wolf, Damian said. Emma nodded. This time, she didn't force it. She knelt, closed her eyes, and invited the wolf forward. The pain came, but it was welcome. Her body burned, bones reshaped, but it didn't feel like destruction, it felt like becoming. Her spine curved. Her limbs cracked and elongated. Her vision blurred, then cleared in a rush of new color and clarity. She howled, not in agony, but in victory. And when the light of the moon touched her fur, Emma stood on 4 legs, golden and strong, her eyes glowing like flame. Damian, in wolf form already, bowed his head to her. She had shifted. Fully. On her own. And when she looked into his eyes, she didn't see fear. She didn't see possession. She saw respect. Later, human again and breathless beneath the stars, she sat beside him at the edge of the ruins. You're ready, he said. Emma looked at her hands, still trembling from the shift. Not to be Luna. Yes, he said gently. To be you. A woman who faced the wolf and didn't run. She turned to him. Even if I pass the trials, even if I become Luna, what happens next? What if the pack still doesn't accept me? Damian's gaze was steady. Then we remind them who you are. The human who became a wolf. The outsider who earned her place. My mate. A beat of silence passed. And if I fail? She asked. He leaned in, voice fierce and tender. Then we burn everything down together. Chapter 16, First Shift. The full moon rose like an eye in the sky, watchful, cold, and waiting. The entire pack gathered beneath it. The ceremonial clearing had been prepared in silence. Torches lined the circle of stones. Tall pillars, scarred by time and claw marks, loomed over the assembly. At the center of it all stood a smooth, flat slab of white stone, a place of offering, of transformation. Emma stood barefoot in the center, heart pounding against her ribs like a caged bird. Around her, wolves watched. Some in human form, clothed in black and silver. Others shifted, massive, silent predators crouched in the shadows. All eyes were on her. The outsider. The unproven. The woman with the alpha's mark, but not yet the pack's respect. Even the moon seemed to hold its breath. Damian stood at the edge of the circle, bare-chested, golden scars tracing down his ribs, reminders of battles long past. His eyes locked with hers, steady and sure, but he did not step in. Not tonight. This wasn't his battle. This was hers. Sabine stepped forward, her own wolf looming just behind her. Tonight, the outsider faces her first true shift beneath the Luna moon, she called, voice echoing. Let the pack witness her rise, or her ruin. Emma didn't flinch. Not this time. She closed her eyes. Tuned out the murmurs, the judgment, the weight of centuries pressing on her shoulders. And she listened. To the wind. To her heart. To her wolf. I'm here, she whispered internally. I'm not afraid anymore. The wolf inside stirred, awake and coiled with purpose. And then, it happened. Her spine arched. Pain rippled through her muscles. Her breath caught as her body convulsed forward, knees buckling, skin prickling like fire. Her bones snapped, and she gasped, but this time, she welcomed it. She fell forward, but never hit the stone. Claws erupted from her fingers. Her skin shimmered, then split. Her screams melted into growls. Her face elongated, jaw cracking, fur rippling along her arms and down her spine. Gasps echoed through the clearing as her form twisted, and then settled. A golden wolf stood where Emma had knelt. Her fur gleamed under the moonlight like sunlight caught in flame. Her eyes were molten amber, fierce and clear. She stood tall. Proud. Wild. Whole. The pack didn't speak. No one dared. Even Sabine stared, her own wolf stepping back a pace. Then Emma lifted her head. And howled. The sound was pure, full of power and pain, defiance and destiny. It rang through the trees, shaking leaves from branches, calling to the stars. It wasn't just a first shift. It was a declaration. I am here. The pack answered. Howls rose from the shadows, low, layered, echoing across the woods. One by one, wolves lowered their heads in acknowledgement. Even Sabine bowed, ever so slightly. And Damian? He stepped into the circle and shifted in a flash of silver fur and cracking bone. His massive black wolf circled her once, then dropped his head in a clear gesture. Submission. Respect. Love. Emma stood still, panting, trembling, but alive. Fully shifted. Fully claimed. Not by Damian. Not by the pack. By her wolf. Later, after the moon had passed its peak, and the pack dispersed into the woods to run, Emma sat by the river, newly human, wrapped in a blanket. Damian knelt beside her, silent. Finally, she said, "That was the most pain I've ever felt." He chuckled softly. "And the most alive you've ever been?" She nodded, smiling faintly. "It was like becoming myself for the first time." Damian leaned in. "Your wolf is magnificent." "She's furious," Emma whispered. "She wants to prove herself. She wants to rip the throat out of everyone who doubted us." He grinned. "Then she'll love the trials." Emma turned to him, her expression fierce. "Let them come. I'm not hiding anymore." Damian's voice dropped to a whisper, lips brushing her ear. "Then it's time to show them what a Luna really is." Chapter 17, The Bond Deepens. The night after the full shift was impossibly still. The pack had run, howled, and finally dispersed to rest, some returning to the estate, others sleeping under the stars in fur and bone. But Emma couldn't sleep. Not with the fire still under her skin. Not with her wolf pacing inside, restless, wanting. She sat on the balcony of her quarters, a soft robe wrapped around her, golden eyes reflecting the starlight. Her body still ached from the shift, but in a different way now, hungry, not for food, not even for power. For completion. The bond had awakened fully with her shift. And now it pulsed between her and Damian like a living thread of light. Every time she closed her eyes, she could feel him. His breath. His heartbeat. His wolf, circling hers in that sacred inner space. And she knew, without words, what came next. The consummation of the bond. Not just sex. Not just passion. A ritual that would fuse their wolves, their souls. One that could only be completed willingly, fully, under the moonlight after a true shift. Her door opened without sound. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. Damian stepped onto the balcony behind her, barefoot, shirtless, a pair of dark linen pants riding low on his hips. The silver light made his skin glow, made the mark on his chest shimmer faintly, a mirrored version of hers. "You feel it," he said softly, voice like warm smoke. "Don't you?" She nodded. "It's like gravity. Inside me." He stepped closer, but didn't touch her yet. "This is your choice. Not the wolf's. Not the pack's. Yours." She turned to him then. "I chose you the moment I didn't run." He exhaled, slowly, as if he'd been holding that breath for years. Emma stood and stepped into his arms. His hands slid around her waist, reverent, careful, yet trembling slightly. Their foreheads touched. Their marks burned in unison, hot and alive. He led her inside, to the bed that had once felt too large, too cold, too foreign. Not tonight. Tonight, it became a sanctuary. They undressed each other slowly, no urgency, no frenzy. Just touch. Look. Breathe. Every kiss was a promise. Every brush of skin was a vow. When he entered her, it wasn't with dominance, but with awe. Their bodies moved together like they'd done this 100 times in 100 other lives. And perhaps they had. The bond sang between them now, threaded through blood and soul. And when they both came, it wasn't just physical. It was cosmic. Emma cried out, her back arching, light flaring behind her eyes as the mark on her shoulder ignited, glowing gold and silver. Damian groaned her name, teeth bared, eyes wild, as his own mark answered hers. Something ancient awakened. The final seal. The mate bond clicked into place with a pulse of energy that knocked the breath from both of them. And in that moment, they were not just lovers. Not even just wolves. They were Alpha and Luna. Two halves of a whole. After, they lay tangled in silence. Damian brushed his fingers down her back, tracing the raised lines of her mark. "You're mine now," he whispered. Emma turned, eyes glowing faintly. "And you're mine." He smiled, then added seriously, "Now that we've sealed the bond, you'll feel things differently. My pain. My joy. My fear." Emma nodded. "Good. Maybe now we can stop hiding things from each other." He kissed her shoulder. "No more hiding. No more lies. Only us." Outside, the wind stirred. Far beyond the estate, a wolf howled in the dark. Not of the pack. Not of peace. But Emma didn't flinch. She curled into Damian's warmth, heart steady, her wolf finally quiet. Tomorrow would bring trials. But tonight, she had claimed her place. Not just at his side. Within his soul. Chapter 18, Betrayal. The morning after the bond was sealed, the estate felt changed. Not outwardly, servants still moved in hushed efficiency, the scent of coffee and pine still lingered in the halls, but beneath it all, something was off. Tense. Emma felt it in her bones. Not just in her bones, in her bond. He was in the war room early, surrounded by his inner circle. She could feel his thoughts moving too fast, his body on edge. Something was wrong. She dressed quickly and made her way down, bypassing Elias's polite attempt to intercept her. "He's not ready for. He's bonded to me," she said firmly. "I'll decide when I come to him." Elias paused, then gave a nod of reluctant respect. "Then brace yourself." Emma pushed open the heavy wooden doors to the war room. A map of the surrounding region lay unfurled across the long table, red stones marking pack territory, black stones creeping toward the border. Victor's pack. But what stopped her cold was the figure standing at the far end of the room. Alaric. Damian's cousin. The one who had once warned her to run. The one who had now returned after weeks of silence, eyes sharp and guarded, posture too calm. Damian looked up. Their bond flared as their eyes met, and she caught the thought running beneath his expression. He doesn't trust him. Not anymore. "Emma," Damian said carefully. "Alaric returned last night. Said he has intelligence from the borderlands. He claims Victor is planning an incursion during the Luna trials." Emma narrowed her eyes. "And he just came back? After vanishing for weeks?" Alaric smirked. "I wasn't on vacation. I was gathering information. I infiltrated one of Victor's scouting camps." She stepped closer. "And conveniently returned just in time to offer it." He tilted his head. "You've changed, Luna. Shifted, bonded, and finally seeing bullshit for what it is," she replied. "Try to keep up." Damian placed a hand on her arm, a silent plea for caution. But her instincts were screaming now. There was something in Alaric's scent that was wrong. She had smelled it before. The day of the hunter's attack. It hit her like a thunderclap. Emma turned sharply. "You told Victor." Alaric blinked. "What?" She stepped forward, her voice rising. "You were the only one outside the pack who knew where I'd be during training. You knew when I'd be alone. You disappeared right after." The room fell into stunned silence. Elias turned sharply toward Alaric. "Is this true?" Alaric's expression shifted. Just for a second. Enough for Emma to see the truth. The mask slipped. He smiled faintly. "She's sharper than she looks." Damian growled, stepping forward. "You betrayed your blood?" Alaric's voice turned cold. I served the pack for years. Watched you coddle them. Protect the humans. Bow to fate. And now you give everything to her? A girl who didn't even know what she was a month ago. He stepped closer to Emma, eyes burning. You shouldn't have been marked. That bond should have been mine. Emma's eyes widened. Damian snarled. You tried to steal her. That's why Victor wants her. You offered her to him. Alaric didn't deny it. He promised me a new bond. A stronger one. One I could control. All he needed was Emma, before the mating was completed. Emma's skin crawled. He said he could rewrite the bond, she whispered. Alaric smirked. He can. With blood magic. And a willing donor. Understanding slammed into her. You were going to help him tear me away from Damian, she said. So you could take what wasn't yours. I should have been alpha, Alaric snapped. You don't deserve him. Before Emma could respond, Damian shifted. In one breath. His clothes tore, his bones cracked, and a massive black wolf launched forward with a roar that shook the walls. Alaric barely dodged the first strike. The pack scattered, some trying to intervene, others too stunned. Emma felt the bond surge in her chest. Damian was unhinged. Unstoppable. Raging. She moved, fast, and stepped between them. Her voice cut through the madness. Stop. Don't give him what he wants. Damian skidded to a halt, breath heaving, fangs bared, golden eyes wild. Emma turned to Alaric. You don't deserve the pack. And you'll never have me. But I want you to see something before you crawl back to your master. She closed her eyes. And shifted. Faster than ever. The pack gasped as her golden wolf stepped forward, growling low and dangerous, standing at Damian's side like a blazing flame beside darkness. Alaric stepped back. You're too late. You're wrong, Emma said, her voice vibrating through her shifted form. I'm right on time. Elias grabbed Alaric from behind, silver cuffs already in hand. We'll hold him until the council decides, he growled. But Emma knew. This wasn't over. Alaric's betrayal was only the first tremor. Victor was coming. And next time, he wouldn't be sending a spy. He'd be bringing war.
Every tale you hear here leaves a mark on the world beyond. If this story stirred something in you, leave a like to weave your magic into ours. Share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice spins a new thread in the arcane tapestry. And subscribe to our YouTube channel Arcane Stories, where myths breathe, shadows speak, and destinies awaken. The next legend is already waiting for you.